compartmentalizing problems.
It is. It is, and I coming into this one, I like WYLDE for it. Beginning of the season, like you said, there's always questions for new teams, but they've really answered those. And I think coming in here, they're looking very strong. BDS, as we've said a couple of times, has given teams really a little bit of a blueprint for, what you do to frustrate and beat Virtus.pro. I think WYLDE will have taken a lot of notice of that. I'd expect to see them, as you said, picking maps where they're going to burn a lot of time, where they're going to make life really difficult for Virtus.pro, get them down to those last 10-15 seconds before they can be attempting to execute. We'll see as we get into this one if that's the case. Initially, WYLDE will be starting on the attack, but of course when they get to the defence, that's going to be the key place to measure whether that's the case or not. So bans coming in, it's going to be Ying, IQ and Bandit so far.
I don't want to interrupt your point. It's brilliantly made. But this is some fun bans. Azami is the most sort of set in stone. Then you would say it would be obviously the Ying. Sorry, Milos just came through with a bread knife and a breadboard and a straw for me. And I'm not entirely sure what he's planning. But he's going to a room with only Hap in. So if we see Hap later, good news.
It's a good outcome.
It's a good outcome. Anyway, the removal there of the IQ. Obviously, she's in a pretty good spot right now. The gun is, I'm not going to say flat, but close to. And in good hands and dangerous hands. Very good. And then
the thing is, if it's near flat for you or I,
yeah, exactly.
And that's certainly not any slight on your gunning ability.
No.
But if it's anywhere near flat for mere mortals
then
like
in
us,
the right hands,
it's going to be dangerous.
And I think that's the sort of spread here. Is there's limitations underneath the removal of the Bandit rather than the Kaid. You're looking at a little bit more of a stretch on some of these sort of top floor holds, especially Exhibition Room, when you've got the sort of double stacked walls outside the front, which you can claw off and put awkwardly at the top. You cannot really protect that from underneath, and it plays against that game there, and it's electrics at the end of the day. It's still all electrics.
It's just all electrics. Is the reality. I'm right. Let's get into it. Round one, we're going to be going up to Karaoke and Tea Room to kick things off. WYLDE, as I said, do start on the attack. Got everything they need. We've got Hungry on the Ossa, so I would watch for those shields going down around the top of Black Stairs. That's where we would usually see that sort of push coming along. Teb on the Capitao. Teb's certainly been one to watch so far. The couple of games for WYLDE that I remember casting myself back in the first play day. Teb was a great part of those couple of wins that they picked up. Picking up some very critical kills. I remember there was a particular double kill that I remember from stage in Piano on Cafe. Absolutely slayed a couple of people inside of the cigar shop. So looking for a bit more of that out of Teb.
Well, the one who's really stepped up over the past recent couple of days for them has been Aces. Packball's been a massive consistent for them as well, and it's sort of the slight change of pace, but the growth of those, you'd say, slightly more experienced Tier 1 players is going to be the change of face here. They're ready to go for the pinch and the pressure. They've surrounded themselves towards the top of Black. Dan is wanting to hop out underneath on the swing there. They've still got some pressure abated and held on the far end. He wants to hit the balcony. He's drawing some attention. They're going to just set the Claymore. I thought he might spray through and see if he got a bit lucky there, but a spray is very likely to get a spray back. The depth charges won't catch either side. They're just fishing for space here, and well, it's the start of the break onto Karaoke.
So far, so good from WYLDE. A lot of good attention paid to that window on the balcony from Dan. They weren't going to lose a life to somebody just hopping out of the window, and I think he knew that. They've got the breach open from distance. They're still working on that a little bit. I don't think the Selma charge has quite got the job done. In comes another. That will likely complete it, I think we'll see exactly how that is. I'm not sure that they've got the walkthrough that they needed. They've had to go onto the left-hand side, but they still should be able to work with that. Kills come in. Aces is going to pick up Dan. 4 versus 3 now as Pasha fights back.
Pasha, hell of a 2 take there, and I'm assuming it was his impact that stopped the breach going all the way, but look at this. The pressure inside the site. Joystick swings behind the smoke, gets the header Hungry. Packball gets one back for 40 seconds, and they've now got the kit lost in the little bit of the Lone Soul song of Karaoke. Teb, he's trying to buy some pressure, buy some space. He knows it's a dangerous swing through, but they swing onto Packball first. Teb's tucking around either side of his own smokes here, but they've made the rotation around on the back of Gold themselves. They're holding, waiting, 20 seconds. They know he's got the pressure of the plant on itself. WYLDE did a lot of the busy work early on here. And to be fair, if we're talking about VP having late executes, WYLDE have done some 15-second marvels of their own. This one, though, almost a false start, but it turns into a 1 versus 1. He's on the back corner of the geisha room. He just sees the fire tab! You called him as a name to watch, and we couldn't look away.
I told you so, Em. But Teb is, like I said, proved that he's certainly got that in his locker, and he's brought it out for us in round 1. How kind of him to deliver. And I think, honestly, I've got to say a bit of a misplay from Virtus Pro there. Yep. You've lost your first man. You find yourself in a 1v1. You're exposed to an angle there, playing in front of the double window. I think if he moves around the boxes, and puts himself between the boxes and the wall, there's much less exposure there. Yes, you can still be picked up from meeting, but let's think about where you've just lost your man. You've just lost your man in drum, so there's not enough time for him to come back round onto that other angle, more than likely. So for me, I think there is a safer position for the Oryx here. As he moves across, you might just see for Joyce, and Joyce is very experienced, but look at this. If he's just further round and behind that wall, he's a lot safer than in that position when he knows that the killer's coming in drum. Surely the peak is going to come in. I think he's hoping that Teb doesn't know where he is. I think that's the key there. But still, given, I think you've got to play to the information you have. And the information Joystick has there is he's in drum. So just cut off any exposure to that area of the map. But great play from WYLDE. Fantastic. Teb goes in. What a great 1v2 to finish things off. 3 kills in the round. Got the opener as well. Loving that from WYLDE.
Well, we started off with them clawing their way through a round. The point I was going to sort of set myself up for if the WYLDE push failed there was, hey, we talk about Virtus Pro having late pushes, but WYLDE do that themselves as well. They'll have themselves 30 or 20 seconds left on a count and go for a count on a plant. They had everything set up there. It took about 1.5 to 2 minutes to get it ready. We saw them prepping on the window, very early getting the destruction on the wall, slowed down by Pasha and the impacts on the back end. But it is really that game that I'm going to keep my eyes on throughout all of this. Who's going to be the first to sort of get that rhythm of the final push and pressure? We talked about the play underneath walls being a bit important and how you can play against the claws and the Kaid. But here, it seems like it's a quick focus and a drive. Look at this, already flooding their way into the bedroom.
Droning will continue from WYLDE, just working underneath, making sure that there's no presence down there. They want to get in there, use those nades, see if they can get any vertical. We've already seen attempts so far. Wasn't successful back in round 1, but it is one of those. I think with the nades from underneath, you may be looking at a 20-30% success rate. So teams will continue trying that and seeing if they can get any value out of it. Pasha going to have to step away, but look at the pressure. The Pasha's under already. Out goes the Nitro, not going to find its target though.
I mean, they've ducks their way in close on the side. Shepard, he's got eyes on the player, sprays over the top, but it gets punched out just in time. Jegs, he finds always on the back end. Packball's going to see if he can stick the plant behind the solid as Pasha gets one back. Aces is doing everything towards the rotation and gets a great take onto Dan post plant. Tucked right behind the desk. Shepard, he's going to try and swing his way round, but look at the opening that they've already got. They've gone wide, they've got the first kill. The upside down repel should catch the rotate. There it is. Ace is able to get one more and one more. A triple over to the back end at the top of VIP stairs, and Shepard is the only important person left standing for Virtus Pro right now. He's trying to find an in, trying to find a route, gets the catch on the upside down player and the take on the far end, but with only a pocket full of seconds, one either side and one ready for the pinch. It's only really a pain sandwich at this point. Goes for the hop, goes for the spray, but it's aces to get, I think, a quad on the round.
4K on the round indeed, and what a contrast from WYLDE coming in round 1. You said, sometimes they will have those late executes, and they certainly did leave it down to the wire. This time they were absolutely not messing about with the clock. We'll get in there in the first 30 seconds and we'll think about putting that diffuser down on the ground. Exactly what they did, and another successful round for them. So what a start so far. Fresh picked it up that Skyscraper is a good pick into Virtus Pro for them, and let's not forget, this is their their attack. They're going to get onto defense, whereby we will see what happens, but you expect now to see teams try and frustrate Virtus.pro, play for time, and Virtus.pro don't always react fantastically to that. If that's what happens here, WYLDE could be cruising to a first map already. I don't want to get carried away with 2 rounds in, but they're looking good. I
think that's the main thing about this as well, is WYLDE have been as successful as a lot of teams hope they are for their entire attack half on Skyscraper in the opening 2 rounds. And it's been 2 very distinct takes. As I said, the first is that sort of slower take. The second is that demonstration of what we think WYLDE have done very brilliantly this season, which is come in as a unit that seems prepared for their matchups. And it's a strange statement to make because everybody should be prepared. Everyone has obviously had differing levels of preparation based on changes, based on roster moves and whatever, but it's the easiest telltale sign to be like, this roster have played together as the core for a while because of how succinct their takes have been throughout this entire season, throughout this entire play so far. And there it was manifest. There it was of, well, they're slow to set up here. They're slow to make motions. Let's make our own. I said they're quick in the bedroom, and then they went, yep, and we're quick everywhere else as well.
Great to see. Great to see from WYLDE. We'll see if they keep up that level of aggression in this round. Something you can do to teams is to keep changing that pace as well. We've seen them take their time round 1, quick round 2, and by mixing that up, it just again makes it difficult for the defenders to sort of prepare for what they're going to be facing. The attempt at vertical nades will continue for the time being. Still no success to be found there as of yet. Shepard is going to take a bit of damage inside his sight, but nothing more than that. Once again, WYLDE have got themselves, and this was something that I thought they did well last time, was established on Black Stairs very, very quickly. They had Aces up there at the top last time. He's using that shield against them. It's just great to see.
Oh, and he gets the take up the joystick.
Horrific.
And you wonder how he's able to get that territory so free. The top of Black Door still solid, and he finds a second. Please.
And this is all while being protected by their own utility.
By their own utility that they're not sort of setting themselves up behind. You wonder what the hold is. You wonder what the idea was with it. The fact that it's been handed over as territory so quickly twice, and this time around there's a shield there. What's the game plan?
A little bit bizarre, as you say. If you're going to play the shield, you've certainly got to play the man at the top of the stairs. They're obviously not recognising that Aces was in that position in round 1 so quickly, and all they'd be doing would be handing him a little bonus as he got to the top of the stairs. Shepard is trying to challenge back. It's not going to be an easy angle with the SMG-11, though. They're working now, and this time they've got a much better walkthrough into karaoke. I'm going to open that up further as well with another Selma charge. 5 versus 2 as Hungry manages to find always. There's one lurking down in the kitchen, I think, which leaves Shepard upstairs on his own. I'm just interested in Pasha's position. No, he's back out in Geisha, so there's work to be done for VP.
30 seconds and a triple for Aces and a Teb for the final full stop there. That hold just raised question marks, and okay, we can highlight it on that shield, but you have to look at, I guess, the ideas behind it from the side of Virtus.pro, because the wall was fully locked. So they've locked the wall, put a shield there, put the procs on. Maybe they're going to have a player there, waste time. No one was there. No one was underneath. No one was close. All of them were on the top floor for that entirety. And they didn't really have a response there. And you can see that WYLDE, this is the map that they wanted to bring. So you can see, more importantly and more obviously, this is not a good, comfortable map for Virtus.pro so far.
Absolutely not. We've got to look at Virtus.pro, obviously, very established, experienced players, but it's a new team, effectively, that's come together. A number of the players haven't been playing at Tier 1 for a period of time, and, as much as I could say, and I think it's probably, true of both teams to a degree, they're both reasonably new, so you wouldn't expect them to have the biggest map pool, because it takes time. Every map that you want to get consistently good at, you've got to put a lot of hours into building your strats, practicing them, dry running them, scrimming them. It takes a lot of time, so you've got to build that map pool up over time. But Virtus.pro, we are immediately seeing the weakness that does expose, which at the minute is Skyscraper for them. They basically, I don't want to be too hard on them, but they basically set up the top of Black Stairs perfectly for attackers.
For WYLDE.
Perfectly for attackers.
Yeah, and the way that you stop that is you can have the rotate. And it's sort of like the combination of the old and the new, where the older way of holding Skyscraper, as weird as that is to say, because we haven't had it in the pool longest, is to have a bit of an opening there on the swing of Karaoke and get behind that shield and pull back into the site. They had that fully locked, so at that point, which is the more sort of modern way of doing it, is the hop over. But either way, that's the previous round, and I guess if the sort of statements about are WYLDE going to be a best-of-3 team can be sort of made by both these.
The thing is, as well, and I commented on this, you're going into a second and third map that WYLDE have had wins on so far. You know, so they're going to look good for it. If they can get this first map, you'd expect them to pick up one of the second two. It just seriously puts them in the driving seat. Aces with the entry again. Honestly, I don't want to say it too soon, I think we could be looking at a 7-0.
He just triggered the cap can so they would hurt Shepard. Didn't get the full kill on him. It was so quick. They entirely surrounded him now. It's the 3 versus 2. They've got the pressure on. They still have vertical control here. That's the important part for Virtus Pro. And although they're a body down, as long as they keep this ground, they might be able to still pull this back. It's technically a very dangerous 1 versus 1 flat fight above, but it's a 2 versus 1 underneath. If they get the whiff of the wind of where Dan is, the impact almost and does get the end of him. The cap gan bull didn't quite come together. The sudden 2 versus 2. They know roughly where Dan's tucked. WYLDE, how can they piece this one together after what was quite a strong opening strike here with all the risks paid to the wind? Now they've got to see if they can try and pull it back.
That's actually really great from Dan. The speed of thought for that second impact nade and also the placement of it, the aim to get it in behind the Monty of Hungary. It was really well played from him, and it drags Virtus Pro back into a round that, to be honest, after a minute, looked like it was probably going to be another loss for them. As it stands, we've got a little bit of a face-off. The thing is, there's only Dan that's going to win from this. WYLDE, as the attackers, are going to have to push forward and take this fight on. Dan is low health, so you know there is an advantage here for Teb pushing in towards him. He just doesn't know exactly where he is, I don't think, and the more he pushes forward, the more he needs to recognise that the likelihood is that he's hard right.
He heard the drone coming. Dan swung just before it hit him. He knew that he was sort of named on the cards here. He's tucked slightly different. The bolt is just gone, but there's Packbull on the back end, and now with 10 seconds, they're looking for the final fight. Joystick still has the vertical control, and he's looking for a final player. No time. The burn of the smoke, the pop underneath. Teb's going to go for the plant in the midst and the chaos, and he doesn't quite have the angle. Teb, he's covered by his own gadget, but can he get out clean? No! Joystick chose the right rotate and just gets this cautiously as the first Virtus Pro round.
It was still hard fought from Virtus Pro to get that one done, but better decision making from Joystick there at the end of the round. Just, you know, making all the right choices. Didn't have the vertical, heads down, knows he can take the fight for the post plant. Unfortunately for Teb, he just strafes across the door that Joystick is ready and waiting at. So the 7-0 will not be on the cards anymore. Virtus Pro managing to put themselves down a marker at least. You know, it could be one of them maps that they've just started sort of slowly on. But I've got to be honest, the first few rounds, there's concerns there about the strategy with which they've tried to hold those sites. So I'm not sure that that's going to be the case, but we will see as it continues. But WYLDE, they're going to be back onto attacking. Let's see if Virtus Pro adapt at all here. Let's put, just if nothing else, let's not put the shield at the top of Black Stairs. Well, if we could just not do that. When you died, you had 2 people die from behind.
Yeah.
You know, let's just not do that.
I mean, I still entirely understand them going back to this site over the other one, because there was that round where it was very close. That sort of first take. It is at points awkward to attack. You know, they've got themselves the cap cans underneath. I'm curious to see if they try and stretch maybe a little bit more of a hold underneath. Just some attention paid towards it, because it's been quite flat so far. They're expecting a take here from over Exhibition side across the top via the sort of terrace and drum, as a lot of teams like to do. But it's been all centered around the northwest corner, the top of Black Stairs, which starts underneath in the sort of shower room. And, you know, if questions are posed, you've got to start trying to find the answers for them. And maybe it's the peaked angle that's just been popped into Shrine.
Here we go then, underway. 20 seconds into the round. Wild still approaching the building, doing the droning. Something else I think that they've been doing well is getting a handle on exactly where Virtus.pro are playing. They've set themselves right up on the east side this time. There is potentially the opportunity for Wild to really push aggressively and get control of site here if they recognise that. Virtus.pro are sort of slowly pushing back. The Oryx has moved back across now and onto those drum stairs, but that still leaves 3 over on the east side.
It's a sort of big gamble, I think, to sort of throw everything over onto the other side. They've got themselves in. Once again, it's exactly the same approach here from Wild. If it's not broke, let's not try and change anything up. They've got the pressure onto Karaoke window. They've got the pressure coming up black stairs. They haven't been shuttered off, and here's Virtus.pro going into similar positions. There's some very minor changes, but now generally all of them are back closer towards site. There's one loose player on the back end trying to hunt the one loose player on the opposite end who's just watching the stairs. They're hoping to get a bit lucky. To be honest, we haven't really seen too much of the fight from that side. This is a prepped jump out, which they haven't done too much before. We saw it attempted as a bit of a later movement, and Wild seem a bit curious.
I think Teb's maybe just holding underneath at the minute. If his teammate can get drones over the other side of the map, he's just watching the angle on the stairs. But if they can catch where that player is on the far side for Virtus.pro, he does have nades in hand. And it is something that we've seen Wild trying. Ace is going to take a lot of damage there, unaware that the vertical angle had been opened up. And this has certainly been better from Virtus.pro. They've got themselves set up better. They've made it more difficult for Wild to push in. And at the minute, Wild are struggling to crack this defence open.
Yeah, they're trying to find a first route through. Maybe they had the read that everyone was on the other side and they've shifted themselves back, but Pasha is able to get that opener. Jegs goes down. There's the second. Teb lost on the back end. Patience pays off for Virtus.pro, and they found one more in the meantime. Okay. Play the hand on the other side and bring it back has been a much more profitable venture here for Virtus.pro. 2 remaining Wild players. They've tucked themselves around on the top here of Black. They've got the Ossa shield. The Talon is just going to try and drive its way through, but Joystick is doing exactly the same thing. Packball gets 1, and Hungry gets a lot of damage, but he's now in the corner with only 13 seconds. See if he can get the plant, and, well, that shield did not get caught, but the player sure did. There's one more. He's got to find the ace, but cannot. Virtus.pro, 2 in a row.
Virtus.pro with a nice comeback there. It's exactly what they needed. The first 3 rounds were dire for them, really. They got put massively on the back foot, but have just really woken up in round 4 and 5, which I think will do them the world of good. But as you've touched on, I think at round 2, Emmy, Wild are already in a position where they're ahead of the curve, really, in terms of what you expect to achieve on an attack of Skyscraper. So Virtus.pro, even with a good last few rounds levelling it up 3-3, it's still going to be a tough second half for them. That said, if you've got players like Joystick, like Pasha, starting to hit shots, which is what is happening, then we know how much of an upset this team can cause. It's always possible.
I mean, Pasha was always one of those players as well. When he shows up, it's
game-changing.
Yeah,
game-changing.
It's that sort of thing. And
life-altering in some cases.
yeah, I mean, it plays your way through. Also, what are they playing for life-altering? They're route through to the major. Of the 4 teams that we have for the rest of today's show, only one of them won't go through, I believe.
Yeah, that's
directly to the major.
3 out of 4 will go.
And
it just depends which phase you go into.
It depends what phase you're going into, but still, that's a huge ticket. That's a huge ride through to what is going to be, the longest major that we've ever had, the most seats that they'll ever be able to play on that stage, and it's a short run to get to this stage with only maybe a shorter run to end it.
Yep. And just to finalise that point on qualifying for the major out of this game, basically it's as simple as the winner will be at the major.
Yeah.
There's other things to be decided, but they will be at the major once they get that position in our final that's going to be played out, of course, between the other game, which is G2 and M&M, which will be coming up after this one. But we need to see who the first finalist is going to be. Wild with a fantastic start, setting off like a rocket to begin with, but Virtus.pro have just been able to reel them back in a little bit over the last couple of rounds and are looking good for potentially getting themselves another here. They've gone to meeting this time. Work is being done. This is the site last time around. around, Office and Exhibition. This is the site last time around that Wild were able to get into very quickly and get the diffuser down. Not quite been the same this time.
They have the mirror window tucked, ready for the swing in case the pressure comes up against it. It's sort of expected for that wall to be opened anyway, so you prep for the plan B of how do you stop it going any further. I mean, at this point last time, WYLDE had got in, got planted, and got out with a couple of bodies for the trouble. So it's the opposite. The man of the moment of that round. He got a 4K in the last time, and he's off the board first with Teb quickly getting a response and a trade back, but still a stalemate. Look at this. It's a full line either side of the screen of the two teams across the two stories. Who's going to be able to break through?
Nice trade from Teb, just keeping that man count level. Still got the nades coming in from underneath. I think, again, it's worthwhile continuing with it. It's, you know, at the end of the day, it's an opportunity for an absolute freebie, but it's not going to be the case. Hungry is in position now, just looking for that potential hatch jump, but obviously needs information before he can throw himself in to do it. He does have diffuser in hand, so there is definitely the possibility, but Virtus.pro are a little bit more prepared this time. They've got the views that they need. They've got the mirror window. They've got the angle from the other side from the table. Hungry so much so decides that it is not going to be the play. Gets himself up onto the balcony, and if Always' eyes were extremely quick there, might have just recognised that that was the Amaru and will be able to say, look, it's not going to be a hatch jump.
A double C4 from Shepard. Ready, waiting and willing to blow that at the first drop of trouble, with Pasha getting one more on the back end. Packbull, suddenly all that's left, and this is one of those late executes I talked about where it has not quite worked out here for WYLDE. They tried to crack through, but Virtus.pro had the game cracked themselves. It was a lot of talking, a lot of ideas, a lot of trying to posturize over the past two rounds, and unfortunately it slowed down what was a very quick start to this map. WYLDE peter out, but now they have time on their side.
I'm happy to say that Virtus.pro have really sort of woken up a bit in those last few rounds. I wasn't sure, as I said, that was necessarily the problem. It was more the way they were setting up and the advantages that they were giving to WYLDE in those first few rounds. But they've definitely nipped that in the bud quite quickly and got themselves really back into this one. Now, that makes it quite a fascinating matchup because you've got this, WYLDE come out super strong and get 3 good rounds. Virtus.pro come back with a good answer and get themselves 3 nice rounds. And we now level pegging again, moving into the second half. We would give an advantage to WYLDE given that they are on the defence, but we haven't seen them defend on Skyscraper yet. So there's still, questions to be asked. We will see if they can provide the answers.
3 apiece, VP, and let's see if the warming up carries on over onto this side now that you have to try and push the momentum. If WYLDE have slowed down into their defenses, I'm not going to say it plays well, but it plays better than the other way round. There's got to be that sort of step change in the pace applied here, and it'll be the first taste and tell told at the site where a lot of it was told here. The top of Black Stairs seems like that's where Virtus.pro want to posturize, and hey, there's that half open wall hold with the shield at the top I talked about before. There's not a player on that extension, but it's a lot easier to get there when you have that rotate, and most importantly, it's a lot easier to get out as well.
That's the big difference, and it's interesting that we've got it played there. Obviously, we were critical of Virtus.pro playing the shield with the wall closed, and we saw why. Aces was able to just stand behind it, peek around, get 2 kills. With the rotation there, that's not possible the same, because you've got that threat over your shoulder of somebody just popping over there and getting the kill onto you, and that's why you're able to then play the shield at the top of the Black Stairs. So WYLDE, certainly setting themselves up better to use that shield at least. But they're going to have Pasha immediately onto the windows there. Going to be droning in, just drops himself away. I like that, a little detail there, but just conscious of the potential for a Nitro to come out onto that windowsill. Windowsill, should there be any in the hands of the defenders. There isn't in this case, but it's still that second nature of dropping away to safety.
Oh, Tab. He's just watched the drones go by. He's utilising the gadget almost as if he can create a bubble of space where he knows where the drones are rolling. He'll hear the call. The smoke will sort of say there's a Monty at the bottom of the shield. He's going to go offer some support on the back line, but he doesn't want to give his life away. Sprays him, finds the fight. Suddenly the Monty goes, I'm very isolated here. Has to try and stack up and get some support elsewhere. Pulls back. Does not want to give his life entirely towards this fight. Joystick is concerned. He's going to get swung from every way, but he wins out the fight. Jegs goes. Teb wants to try and lock out this engagement before he knows he's going to get surrounded. There's the pull of the grenade, the roll of the fight. He's not quite able to get either side of it. and Joystick tucks his way behind Sushi on the back end. Packball wants to get rid of Always and does. The smoke canister and finished off by the gun of Teb. Back to the top of the stairs, and Joystick caught by the support of Aces. WYLDE entirely sunk their way down there. They got the call where the hold was, they got the call where the fight was, and they made sure that no man was left behind. Packball, he's going to try and replace this door, but not with wood, with a gun. Although, losing a body on the far end suddenly gives him a little bit of caution to the wind and lets that wind blow him back.
I think a smart decision there, just to drop himself back down behind that shield. There's 3 versus 2, no need to be taking those sorts of risks. You know, if you've got the utility there, then use it. Pasha just looking to push from behind potentially. Packball does manage ultimately to find the kill onto the ace. Pasha finds Teb underneath, is able to recollect that down diffuser, but with 20 seconds left to go, this is exactly the sort of position that Virtus.pro don't want to be finding themselves in. 1v2, limited time, Pasha hunting for kills. He knows that there's one inside of Geisha. Can he find his man? That's going to be the first of second, but no, the movement from WYLDE is good, just keeping himself out of trouble, and Hungry manages to eat up that final kill, and WYLDE get their first defense on the board.
I mean, it was movement by synergy. Every single time that they stepped, Hungry would step as well. They made sure that they were almost parallel to the fight. It's, I guess, parallel to the very opening round that we had of this game, where Joystick was sort of stationary. He was sat, he was waiting, and there was Hungry. Although, yeah, it's a 2 versus 1, it's a different situation, but still, that mobility, that caution of, we can hear this, we know it's the stairs push, where can I not be easily caught? The first round is WYLDE. It was a good read. It got a bit scrappy in the middle, but I think when you're trying to drive your way back against the Monty and they're still surrounded and suddenly you're getting clarity, it's not easy.
Not at all. Here we go then, round 8. WYLDE looked very good on the defence on the whole. I like the way that they worked from multiple angles. They had Teb challenging through. Joystick they then recognised was in no man's land, so Packball pushed down drum stairs to make a challenge, and they just kept Virtus.pro guessing, didn't let them settle. Virtus.pro, by contrast, you know, made a good effort of it. They were certainly trying to command map control with Joystick inside of restaurant, just looking to lock down, but you could just see his discomfort in watching his point of view. He knew he had too many angles to watch for his own safety. So I think this time Virtus.pro, if they're going to take control of the map, great, but just get some areas that you can work from as more of a beachhead.
Now, Dan, he's going to look for the fight. I quite like the change here across both teams. The clash, not massively seen, not the most common hold, but Hungry is that multi-tool that we've talked about before, where if you need a problem, if you need an operator played, call up Hungry.
Certainly is. Plenty of experience across many on attack and defence. Quite often seeing sort of team strategies rotate or revolve around his pick, and it can completely change, you know, the attitude of how his team is going to play. And like you say, the clash maybe just suggesting, right, we're going to start playing into that mindset of wasting some time here. Clash very difficult to deal with quickly. We've seen it utilised. I think it was it by Sandbox or Cyclops in the APAC League, where they'd get the clash out onto the balcony here. You can pretty much just stand there if you're careful, and just be a complete nuisance.
Yeah, I think we've seen BDS do it as well. You just keep popping your way out. The Flores drone straight through there is going to be impacted off, but you assume that gets the shield as well, so it's sort of that sort of trade-off. Oh no, just angled away outside the door. Very clever play there. Impacted off the Flores drone so it would not destroy the shield.
Just opening up the punch holes for a few extra angles. Dan working in towards Shrine, but look at the time. 1 minute 10 left to go. No real progress from Virtus.pro here yet. They haven't got any kills. They haven't really got any control over site whatsoever. And Hungry bringing along the clash is certainly causing a problem. Pasha's been hanging around. Sorry, not Pasha. Always on the Thatcher has been hanging around, trying to use those EMPs to just push the shield back, force them out of position, but it hasn't really worked. Jegs manages to pick up Dan. 45 seconds left to go, and Virtus.pro need to get moving, because before they know it, it's going to be that final 10.
I mean, it's just fantastically played here by Hungry. The grenades are going to roll through. They're going to burn off the ADSs. They're going to get the realization that's going to hit. They're blinded by their own, but they take over control of Terrace. 20 seconds, though, and the Clash can just hold that button on the far end. It knocks them back a little, but look, they're trying to force all of the pressure over the top. It's a dangerous fight to take through the legs of the Dragon and the fire and the flames, and the only one spit is at the end of Jegs' gun. Finds a second for the round. Aces, he's crouching his way up for some support, but suddenly Virtus.pro get a double back. However, 5 seconds to find themselves inside the site and get the kit down. In the meantime, with all the cover, and Teb still putting the damage in a clash, causing so many problems. They're holding the trigger, they're holding the button, they've got to fight their way through. Joystick is looking every single direction. They can't quite stop the plant. They've somehow snuck it down, tucked on a corner, and you can't really work out who's to blame. Teb, he's doing some damage and giving himself a good name. Joystick over the top from the far end of the bar, a sliver of health, and he tucks tail just out the back end here of Terrace, waits for the swing, finds the first. And now it's down to Packbull on the back end, 20 seconds. And after being strong-armed and muscled out of his own sight, can he see if he can utilize those to long-arm the kit and the hold? They know he's going to hold it off. 13 seconds, the bait and the jiggle. He pulls off just in time! And Packbull, the man from the Emerald Isle, shines!
Packbull had my heart going there as he came off for that final kill in the absolute nick of time. And what an end to a round. I'm struggling to think of a round that has been that tense over the entirety of stage one. That was unbelievable. The fact that Virtus.pro were able to stick that plant, somehow got away with it. And then when you've got Joystick in the 1v2, there's a bit of me screaming, just hold the cover. You can go for the defuse here potentially. If you've got the angle, he has to come through terrace door. I think the concern potentially being that he might have rotated around to Shrine. We find ourselves 1v1. What a round that was. Packbull coming out on top and triggering that tactical timeout from Virtus.pro.
I mean, you have to give a bit of credit there to Virtus.pro for not really having anything. They were 2 bodies down. There was 20 seconds left. They had only just been able to get boots in the ground inside Dragon, inside Shrine, and inside Terrace. They didn't have the push coming from anywhere else at that point, apart from one loose player that had got themselves tucked just inside the breach at the top of the VIP stairs around house, and then suddenly going, we've got to just brawl our way through here. We have to trust that we can make something out of this. I won't say that that was an execute to plan. It's not the most common plan spot. It's not the most common way of taking it. It worked for a period of time, but I think only because of the gun skill that Virtus.pro can pull out in those situations.
I think, yeah, that's the sort of situation that you would call throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks. You know, like you say, not to take anything away from Virtus.pro, this was a beautiful kill from Jegs. Really did sort of push them towards that final. And like I say, Teb found himself in this position. And this is where I'm talking. Joystick picks up the kill here. Teb's aiming towards Terrace. If he thinks that Joystick's in Terrace, there is an opportunity to get on that diffuser and force Joystick through that door. And all he needs to do really is hold the angle, because Packbull can long arm it as he was doing from behind cover, so Joystick has to expose himself fully to it. So, you know, it's easy to say from our perspective at the end of the day, when you're in that 2v1, you've got a diffuser down, it's post plant, you know, if you think you've got the opportunity for a kill, you're going to take it. But one way or another, Wild managing to come through even after Virtus.pro somehow managed to force that plant down. Absolutely beautiful from them. But we move on to round 9. It's going to be down to bedroom this time, interestingly, rather than kitchen and barbecue, which would generally be the more popular downstairs site. Wild are going to take us to a lesser used site, but still a good one, I think. They'll be trying to hold on to exhibition and office. They'll want the vertical as well. You can see the presence on stairs already over there. So Virtus.pro looking like they're going to mount a west-sided push rather than trying to go in through the breach into exhibition office, for example.
Yeah, you don't see a huge amount of play on this site. It's quite awkward, and although we have the softs for the demonstration, in terms of how the fight is going to play out, you could do the whole site within about 20% of this map. You've got the two outside sort of hop-ins. You've got the bathroom window, you've got the opposite side, you've got the one that roots itself all the way through the site itself, and then the verticality, which is the most important part of the hold onto a site, as sort of temperamental and dangerous as this is. Virtus.pro know this, which is why they get the quick clear over to the top on the back end. The first thing we saw was the Selmas opening up the wall at the top of the VIP stairs, and then from that point onwards, they can clear their way across, try and hit hammer and heavy against the site top hold.
While taking drones out left, right and centre at the minute, leaving themselves only 5 to face up against Virtus.pro. Their stock of drones cut in half there, but still should be providing a reasonable amount of information. But again, same as I said last time around, we are 2 minutes in, no kills for Virtus.pro. Cast the curse, sorry Jegs, Joystick will pick up the entry, but still they're getting limited on time, but this time moving a little bit better in terms of map control. That's
a very dangerous door, and they're not going to take the route through. Packball is waiting, ready to snap shut on the doors of anybody who tries to make their way through. The quick play underneath, and there's the take. Joystick gets the player from the hatch. It's the pressure now as Pasha drops their weight down. It's castled off with a lot of cross angles, and this is what I talked about, the danger of this site itself, as you can watch it all the way across. Hungry, he's going for a bit of a retake over the top. Finally finds the first body, and with 20 seconds left, though, they now know the call that he's quite far away. So let's see if we can tuck ourselves in. Right to the back end of Bathroom, as Hungry's now got a second, but he's got to ace out this round to have any chance of it going into their favor. They're tucked with the plant. They have the cover this time. They have at least 2 players ready for the fight. He's looking for a toasty engagement, but unfortunately all that's done is give them a little bit more to work with. They still have 3 players. They only need 1. And with 2 taps after the timeout, it's a Virtus.pro round.
Yeah, managing to turn it over, it was on the third choice site. So WYLDE now have the opportunity to go back. It is 5-4, of course, but they've got the opportunity to go back through those primary choice sites. They can go to Karaoke and Tea Room, which they won back in round 7. They can then follow that up with Office and Exhibition again, which they won in round 8. So WYLDE right now have got an opportunity. You know, they need to make sure that they get this done. They don't really want to be having to rely on going all the way to 12 rounds if they can avoid it. You know, get this done here and now. You've got 2 good sites ahead of you. You need 2 rounds won. This is your chance.
Okay, WYLDE, from what has been solid plays and holds, this one was a game against the Shield, and they've picked back into the Shield, but you've opted away from the Solace. I'm assuming we're going to have something a little bit more ready to fight and face them here, because you definitely get the feeling that Virtus.pro has started cooking into this game more and more the longer it goes on. They are that team, and if you're looking at the maps that you've got ahead of you, especially in the middle of this, I think, to be honest, if you were either of these teams, you might look at these maps and assume a 3-map series.
Potentially, but like I say, I think, you know, looking back at WYLDE Stage 1, they've already shown us that they can play on a number of different maps. They won Chalet against Secret 7-4. They played M&M on Clubhouse. They won 7-5. You know, there's a real argument to say that this map ban really favours WYLDE here, potentially.
I think the club is always the toss-up.
Yes.
M&M, I mean, I cast that game, I believe. M&M, I think they threw a few rounds. As they sometimes sadly do. Here's the spray around the side. Virtus.pro, they're a very good club team. I think club's going to be a very dangerous...
Club will be tough for WYLDE, don't get me wrong. But I think if Virtus.pro want to win this game, I feel like they've got to win it in 2 maps.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to avoid Charlotte.
Sorry, I think I should be harsher. I need to be like Dez, right? I'm supposed to insult teams and things like that.
Hashtag be more Dez.
Hashtag be more Dez and be mean about teams. But WYLDE. 2 rounds away here from being able to lock off your map pick. You are back towards your first pick site here with a different hold and a different idea. It seems like Virtus.pro are going for same but different. They've obviously still got the Monty, but it seems like they're not going to try and drive their way up directly from underneath and cut the stairs. In fact, maybe the castle door onto the kitchen area is what's giving them a bit of caution here. They don't want to get swung the way around, but also you've got grenades, you've got a lot of soft floor above you, and now you've got a fully locked top black. We've had a change of hold here, but WYLDE have kept a player there. That's the difference.
perfect player to deal with the Monty, of course. Toxic Babe canister will go out, and it's exactly the same as we saw last time. This time, WYLDE just looks to get aggressive onto that door. Last time we saw him not really committing quite as heavily. He waited for Shepard to push in and picked him up with the SMG. This time, he's going to take the fight to them, manages to pick up Dan and then pushes down to continue dealing with that Monty. And this is great play from WYLDE. He's dealing with fights on two fronts, 180 degrees on either side of him, and ultimately it's a nade that takes him down, but he's wasted 2 minutes 10 and got an entry kill.
I mean, that is what you need the player to do. It's do or die, and he did both there at the end of it. 40 seconds. Virtus.pro, they get themselves control of it, but you combine this and compare it with how WYLDE did the same thing on their attacks, and there's a good 2 minutes as the differing factor here. Can Virtus.pro push this one over the end? There's a big enough door for Amonte to roll his way through on without too much fear of having to drop his shield. Teb, he's hoping for the swing on the far end. They're just going to pull out the first bit of danger. There's the reveal of the smoke. The man with the special glasses is in the perfect position to try and stop this. The danger is he might get swung from Geisha window, or Karaoke window even, as he slips his way on by. They've tucked themselves in. They're going for the plant. They're just spraying it down. Jegs had the cover as well. It's only a second left, and Virtus.pro did not have the time for a plan B.
No, it was a nice use of the warden there, just preventing the Monty, getting the plant down, and it's really put Virtus.pro on the back foot. As I said, WYLDE's opportunity is now. It is in those 2 rounds. It's Karaoke T, they've done, tick in the box. They now need to close out Office and Exhibition. They don't really want to go to that third choice site, but by winning that immediately, they've given themselves an opportunity at least. If they do need to go to the third choice, that might be a 5th round, say, for Virtus.pro. You know, they still have choices. They've got a bit of wiggle room now.
Now, this one was close, Tim. Last time.
It was close.
It was a bit close.
It was the closest round I've seen for a long time.
It was, yeah.
2v2, 20 seconds to go. Diffuser goes down. Post plant isn't held. Diffuser,
yeah, it was a little bit close.
With 9 seconds left to go, Packball gets on and successfully disables the diffuser.
And that's something both teams will know.
There was a few turnarounds.
Both teams will have the full awareness that this
Oh no, we're Kitchen Barbecue.
Oh, okay. It was Exhibition T.
What I do like this site choice because we haven't seen it yet.
No.
And when we went to bedroom, we both commented that it's not, you know, the most common third choice site that we see. It's generally Kitchen Barbecue.
Honestly, I think our point
and
that
I
we
think
were
this
gonna,
is a good shout.
Yeah, I think our point that we were going to make there about Exhibition being close is why they changed off it, because they had selected
very possibly,
it,
yeah.
And then I strategically moved all of my things off the desk in case it comes back to the camera, and then I look back and it's a different site. There's a peek behind the curtain there.
Little BTS.
Little BTS. We take things off the desk when we know the cameras are going to come back on, so we don't get in trouble. Either way, as you were saying, it's good. I think it's good to see a bit of a variation. I think it's good to stretch the full site because this is WYLDE's map. They've proved it at points. And the off-sites, yeah, okay, they didn't work just before, but this has a little bit more offering to you, I think.
Yeah, it's a good site, and Virtus.pro haven't seen it yet. Yep. And you need a round. You need to get this done. You don't want to be going to 12 rounds realistically. Just get it done here and now. So yeah, I love this. I think it's a good shout. So they're going to be going into Geisha to begin with, our Virtus.pro. They will face some challenges. Teb is in there, has an ADS to help him stay in place as well, and will likely try to hold on to this for as long as possible, I think, because obviously we know the verticals, Geisha can be completely destroyed in terms of the flooring. The hatches there can also be taken out, and it can really support the opportunity of getting the plant down inside that kitchen door from the storage side.
How dangerous is Teb feeling? He's been able to have a couple of big pointed moments throughout this series so far, and he wants to be the lead in here on what can be potentially the last round of our opening map. Pasha cracking his way across the top. Half of the time has gone. They've been able to get themselves in, but it still sort of heralds a couple of warning bells here as the pressure is only really starting to hit the top floor. There's still underneath that needs to be thought about.
The Res Pasha is going to be moving across now to try and support the push into Tea Room. We've also got Dan on the Brava just outside the Black Stairs door as well. So these top floor players are going to start feeling the pressure, but what a lot of work there is to be done here. I love that reinforcement, just preventing Joystick, who tried to do exactly that, get in and pressure from the drum angle. But Dan, he manages to pick up Jegs, and that is what Virtus.pro needed. They needed to start finding some kills, some cracks, and Joystick manages to find aces as well. 5 versus 3, 30 seconds left to go.
Oh, I thought he'd missed the boat on that one, but he tucks it back in and ties it away. Suddenly, 30 seconds, they've got a double. I said this might start with the fight on Teb, and he might be the end of it. He's still in a position of power. He might be able to swing around the back end. He's waiting patiently for the calls to come against it. They've got themselves stacked up. They're trying to slip the kit round in the back and bottom of Black Stairs. There's Teb getting Joystick above. There's Packbull getting one inside the site, 10 seconds. And suddenly they've got to try and recollect the kit. They're able to get one more. It's a 2 versus 2. It's now a 1 versus 2. They've just got to hold off on the side of Hungry. He's hot pinged. He gets the cover. He's got to sprint round for the final player. Can he make it? Yes, he can!
Unreal finish from Hungry there, 1v2. It was, for me, the first kill, the one onto Drum Stairs, that really opened up that round for him to be able to take Skyscraper for Wild. It was just a beautiful flick to take the man down, knew exactly where the plant was trying to be stuck, and also knew that he was close to the wire. You saw him pre-firing through that doorway because he did not want to let Virtus.pro get off that diffuser and get set ready